Part 64. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 673. Klay Thompson is followed by Marco Bellinelli. Bellinelli is very nervous. Klay Thompson's 29 points put him too much pressure. After the first 4 shots, the 4 scores were Kelly Irving 18 points, Redick 20 points, James Harden 22 points, Klay Thompson 29 points, and the scores were higher than 1. For Marco Bellinelli, he obviously needs to get a higher score than Redick, better than James Harden, otherwise his chances of qualifying to the finals are really small. 8 people competed for 3 places in the finals. Now, Klay Thompson has almost locked a place in the finals, which means that Marco Bellinelli needs to compete with the remaining 2 places for the remaining 2 places. The difficulty is still considerable. Big. Especially, considering that there are 2 perverts Angzi and Stephen Curry behind, Marco Bellinelli feels even more hopeless. Nervous, plus he was not optimistic about his Marco Bellinelli's appearance. After 5 3-point shots, Marco Bellinelli's score was fixed at 19 points, which was actually lower than Redick. Means that he has been out early. Just after the match was out, Marco Bellinelli was also a bit miserable, but there is nothing to do, he made a mistake, and the final consequences can only be borne by himself. Marco Bellinelli retired sadly. He also Kelly Irving was eliminated first. The 2 difficult brothers sat together. At this time, the audience on the sidelines was no longer paying attention to them, because the next one was Stephen Curry. When Stephen Curry appeared, he still had that iconic gesture, gritted his braces and looked like a bad student. He joked with his teammate Klay Thompson on the sidelines. With this action, coupled with the host's announcement, a burst of deafening cheers broke out on the scene. After Klay Thompson, the most anticipated is Stephen Curry's appearance. Soon, Stephen Curry walked to the sidelines, he pressed his hands towards both sides of the court, signaling the crowds on the sidelines to be quiet, and then he stood by the first shooting point in the bottom corner, ready to start the game. Preliminary competition. Beep. As soon as the whistle sounded from the sidelines, Stephen Curry grabbed the ball and quickly shot it. First goal, score. Second goal, score. Third goal, score. The cheers at the scene were a wave of cheers. Stephen Curry showed a super hot competitive state. In the 3-pointer, his state looked comparable to the previous Klay Thompson. But this is in line with everyone's expectations. The 3 OSS in this 3-point contest, Klay Thompson, Angzi who has not yet played, and the other is Stephen Curry. Curry's performance is obviously not out of everyone. Unexpected. For the second shooting point, Stephen Curry had the same rhythm as the first shooting point. Amidst the cheers of the fans, the sound of swishes was endless, and it turned out to be another 5-goal hit. In this way, after the first 2 shooting points were shot, he scored a full 12 points. The audience on the sidelines was going crazy. Klay Thompson scored 29 points, but looking at Stephen Curry's rhythm, the score may be higher. This is really the strongest all-star 3-point contest in history. Stephen Curry is also very excited, the more accurate his 3-pointers. For the third shooting point, for the first 4 goals, Stephen Curry made another 4 hits. In this way, Stephen Curry scored 14 goals in a row, and his personal scoring has come to 16 points. It's just that the last flower ball didn't score. The 4th shooting point is Stephen Curry's flower point. The flower ball point is one of Stephen Curry's best shooting points. He continued to show strong performance. He made 4 of 5 flower and scored 8 points. Adding the previous 16 points, Stephen Curry's score has risen to 24. Separated. Stephen Curry had already scored 24 points when Stephen Curry had 1 shot left. It was Redick who showed a wry smile. He survived Marco Bellinelli, but he was ultimately defeated by Stephen Curry. Curry was eliminated. Although James Harden has not been eliminated, Stephen Curry's scoring has surpassed him, which means that James Harden needs to compete with Angzi and Kyle Korver, who have not yet played for the last promotion spot. Angzi is very strong. This does not need to be questioned. Even Kyle Korver may be upset. James Harden has a hunch that he should not be able to advance. The last shooting point was not enough time. Stephen Curry speeded up his shots, but the accuracy was still there. 5 goals were scored for, including a flower goal. In the end, Stephen Curry also scored a 29-point. Tied Klay Thompson. The elementary school students also scored 29 points, and there was a burst of violent cheers, especially when the audience on the sidelines saw the elementary school students pointing their hands at Klay Thompson on the side bench. The cheers once again ushered in a wave of cheers. It was actually go up a step again. Stephen Curry did not leave immediately, because he knew that Angzi would be the next player. The next one is an 11. Angzi waved his hands to the stage, and Curry, a primary school student who had not left the field, rushed over and bumped Angzi into his chest, and the scene suddenly screamed. Angzi shook his head helplessly. He continued to wave his hand without making any more moves. He stood on the edge of the three-point line and was ready to start the game. Unlike the exaggerated pre-match performance of Stephen Curry before, Angzi's performance was very indifferent, as if the game was not important at all, or in other words, it was as easy as this game for Angzi. But there are also people who think that Angzi is a deeper pretense. Stephen Curry has various pressures and braces, and has a good show. When I get to Angzi, there is no show, but in fact, this is a show. A silent and motionless show. Just see if Angzi can match Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry. An 11 stood by the first shooting point, signaling the referee that the game could start. The referee blew his whistle. An 11 immediately started and grabbed the first ball. Huh! There was a crisp net-grabbing sound, and the first ball was accurately hit. Then there was another scream. The second goal was scored shortly after. Then came the third ball, the fourth ball, and even the fifth ball. After the first shot was shot, 5 clear nets were made, 5 goals were scored, and the audience cheered. Angzi also showed a fiery personal touch, and this three-point contest was wonderful. At the second shooting point, Angzi continued to adjust his shooting posture and state, and the sound of screaming was endless. In the three-pointer, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson on the sidelines also began to look at the center of the court involuntarily, because Angzi's shot he was quick and accurate, his shot speed was even faster than Stephen Curry, and the cheers of the entire Barclays Center grew louder. The second shooting point is still all in. Then the third one, the position of the top of the arc, the most sure position of Angzi, he speeded up, and with a swing of his hands, he made a three-pointer, 5 goals, and hit all. In the first 3 shooting points, Angzi directly scored 18 points. At the fourth shooting point, when Angzi steadily made the first 4 orange balls, James Harden knew that he was also out. Before Kyle Korver had a game, Angzi, Klay Thompson, and Stephen Curry is about to occupy the top 3 seats, which is in line with the predictions of the people before the game. This three-point contest is indeed a battle of these 3. The last flower ball on the fourth shooting point, with another scream, came in. With 24 points, James Harden was out. There was cheers on the scene, and the atmosphere became more and more enthusiastic. The fifth shooting point is the flower ball set by Angzi. The shooting at this point is not the one that Angzi is best at, but he set the flower ball at this point. The reason is that the last shot is more exciting. The cheers at the scene were deafening, but Angzi was not affected by the heat wave. He stood at the last shooting point, the first flower ball, go in. Then, the second flower ball, go in again. 28 points. Angzi is only 1 point away to tie the preliminaries of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. But this is not the most terrifying. The most terrifying is that Angzi has not lost a goal so far. For the third flower ball, an 11 stabilized his figure and shot quickly, 30 points. The audience burst apart, and they didn't know who took the lead, and there was a tidy voice. N. 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 The fourth orange ball. 32 points. The commentator was immediately excited, 32 points. 32 points. Angzi tied the historical record held by Klay Thompson. But finally, the last flower ball was shot, with a bang, leaving a lot of regret on the ground. Angzi missed the last flower ball and finally scored 32 points. This score tied the historical record held by Klay Thompson, but it was only one goal away to break this record. It's really a shame. Good. This is just the preliminaries. Angzi still has a chance to go further. The scene cheered, and shouting in unison continued. Angzi waved his hand and walked to the sidelines, ending his performance in the preliminaries of the three-point contest. With 32 points, Angzi has secured a place in the finals. In this three-point battle, Angzi is temporarily the leader of this battle, and he also has the opportunity to compete for the final throne. In the end, Kyle Korver played, he withstood the pressure, and finally only shot at 25 points. The score was high, but there were 3 perverts on it. Kyle Korver still missed the finals. In the final round, Angzi was eligible to arrange the order of appearances. In the end, he chose to make his final appearance, letting Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry play first. There was a break between the preliminaries and the final, and the discussion in the commentary began. Angzi's state is too hot. As long as he continues the state, the ultimate champion must be his. But Angzi's state came out too early. It's really hard to say whether the state can continue. Yes, Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry did not score low in the preliminaries, which shows that their state is not bad. In the end, it's hard to say who wins and who loses. In the final round, Stephen Curry played first. Because Angzi scored 32 points in the preliminaries, Stephen Curry felt the pressure. This time his appearance seemed a lot more low-key, silently walked to the first shooting point, ready to start the finals. The performance of the final is very important, because this will determine the final winner. Stephen Curry is very serious and careful. When the sideline whistle sounded, he stretched out his hand like lightning and grabbed the first ball. Flicked his hand and threw it out. Compared with the first round of preliminaries, he has obviously accelerated his shooting speed, and he has to save more time for those shots that are not sure. The first ball hit steadily. After hitting the first ball, he turned around and picked up the second ball, almost in the same rhythm as the first ball, and then shot it again. The parabola was perfect. After the basketball passed the highest point, it fell straight down. The second ball still hits. The third goal, also scored. The fourth ball, the fifth ball, all in. Exactly the same performance as the preliminaries. The first 5 goals were scored. 6 points. The audience cheered again. Their voices were already dumb, but seeing this wonderful three-point contest, even if it became dumb in the future, they felt it was worth it. Stephen Curry rushed to the second shooting point and continued to shoot. This shooting point was still accurate. Stephen Curry, 5 goals hit 4 goals, the last flower ball was a little short, the ball bounced out after the ball went in, causing the fans to exclaim. At the third shooting point, at the top of the arc, Stephen Curry made another 5 goals. The first 3 shooting points only lost 2 points and scored 16 points. Then, at a 45 degrees angle on the left, this position is Stephen Curry's flower ball. His flower ball point in the preliminaries is also at this position. This position is the hottest point of his three-pointer. It is also the most important point he grasps. The flower point is very important. 1 ball is 2 points and 5 are 10 points. Stephen Curry takes it very seriously. He slowed down his shooting rhythm and began to deal with it seriously. The first ball took a glance and was thrown out. The arc of basketball is very positive and the strength is perfect. First goal, score. The second ball is still not slow. Still in. There was already a burst of violent cheers from the sidelines, and Stephen Curry's scoring continued to soar. The third goal, still scored. The fourth goal, still scored. The fifth goal, without any doubt, keep on. In the end, after the first 4 shooting points were shot, Stephen Curry only lost 1 flower ball and his performance was perfect. Wow, too strong, Stephen Curry did a great job. It really is the strongest and most exciting 3-point contest in history. With the last shot left, Stephen Curry has already scored 26 points. Stephen Curry has the last shot point left. If the last shot is hit, Stephen Curry will also score a 32-point. If that is the case, then this game is crazy. For the 5th shooting point, Stephen Curry himself realized the importance of the last 5 goals, so he was extremely careful with every goal. Stephen Curry slowed down the first ball and hit it steadily. Then, the second ball was still a steady hit, 28 points. The third ball continues, 29 points. The fourth goal, still scored. 30 points. The cheers on the scene stopped abruptly, and only the last flower ball was left. Everyone was quiet, holding their breath, staring at the last flower ball, and did not dare to miss it. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 674. There was still a crisp sound, and the last flower ball came into the net. Go in. Go in, Charles Barkley was extremely excited. Stephen Curry also scored a 32-point. I tied Klay Thompson's record. Now the scoring record for the 3-point contest is held by Angzi, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, but Stephen Curry's 32 points it's worth $1,000, because he won it in the final. Before Klay Thompson and Angzi played, Stephen Curry scored a 32-point. Klay Thompson and Angzi were under great pressure. This is 32 points. Is this the strongest 3-point contest in history going to be straightforward? Has the winner been decided? 32 points are indeed high, like a big mountain, already pressed on top of Angzi and Klay Thompson, but this does not mean that Angzi and Klay Thompson have no chance. At least, Stephen Curry scored 32 points. It is not a full score, even 2 points less than the full score. Angzi and Klay Thompson still have a great chance. But on the field, Stephen Curry has begun to celebrate, not to celebrate the final victory, but to celebrate a successful play and performance. The second one was Klay Thompson. At this time, Buddha looked serious and looked like a Buddha. He was under a lot of pressure. He either broke the record to beat Stephen Curry or lost the 3-point battle. Klay Thompson is not a person who will easily admit defeat, otherwise he would not choose to participate in this 3-point contest. After all, the previous record was owned by him alone. And since he participated in this 3-point contest, he will strive for the final victory. In the final round, Klay Thompson moved the ball point to the bottom corner of the first shot point. He thinks he feels hotter in this position today, and there is another advantage to having the ball point on the first shot point. That is, you can slow down the rhythm at the beginning, and then speed up the rhythm after you gradually find the feeling. The rhythm is considered to be right, and there is no need to change the rhythm in the middle, which is very convenient. With a beep from the sideline, Klay Thompson started his shot in the final round. The first ball was thrown out. The shot was slower, so the accuracy was enough. With a scream, it hits directly. Immediately afterwards, the second flower ball, a wave of hands, keep hitting. The third, fourth, fifth, and 5 ball points were all in. Klay Thompson's strategy was successful. Then, Klay Thompson rushed to the second shooting point. Compared with the first shooting point, Klay Thompson speeded up his shooting rhythm, but at this time, his hand feeling has taken off. This time he continued to 5 goals. The first 2 shots were missed. The shooting point at the top of the arc. This shooting point is the flower point for Klay Thompson's preliminaries. This shows that Klay Thompson is confident of shooting at this position, and the result is indeed the case. 4 Orange made a strong hit, and finally the flower ball is no exception, another wave of 5 goals. The first 3 shots were not missed. Klay Thompson gradually approached Stephen Curry. He still has a chance to win the final game. At the penultimate shooting point, Klay Thompson made a mistake and missed the first ball at the beginning. Fortunately, he made an emergency adjustment and adjusted the second ball and made a successful shot. Klay Thompson missed an orange ball. He has no chance of getting full marks, but it doesn't matter. He just lost 1 point and still has a chance to beat Stephen Curry. Break his own record. In the next 3 goals, Klay Thompson was very stable and made all of them. The last shooting point, a shooting point related to the final result, is almost all fans from all over the world, looking at the left bottom corner. Klay Thompson rushed there was still enough time, the first ball was thrown steadily, and with a scream, it was scored. Then the second ball hit steadily, 29 points. The third ball is still a steady hit, 30 points. The fourth goal, still scored. 31 points. Only 1 point away from Stephen Curry's final score. At this moment, everyone's breathing on the sidelines stagnated, and there is still the last flower ball. If it is made, Klay Thompson will break the record held by himself, Stephen Curry and Anzi. Defeat Stephen Curry directly and take the initiative in the 3-point contest into your own hands. Klay Thompson did not hesitate, took a deep breath, aimed at the basket, and threw the last flower ball with 1 second left. A ball attracted the attention of the audience and even all fans around the world. The arc is perfect, passing high above the Barclays Center, and it looks like the ball is about to be scored. The fans at the scene stood up, ready to cheer at any time. New record! New record! Even the commentator on the scene shouted loudly. Boom! The basketball hit the outside of the basket and didn't make it. The Barclays Center immediately uttered an exclamation. All over the world, the TV smashing scene even happened. Many people expected Klay Thompson to make this last flower ball, but, unfortunately, I didn't make it. No entry, the commentator on the scene hugged his head. This result is really a shame. Klay Thompson's final score was frozen, 31 points, failed to beat Stephen Curry, his 3-point contest has ended. The Buddha shook his head, very helpless, but he didn't think too much. He walked to the sidelines and first hugged Anzi, who was about to appear. Then, he walked directly in front of Stephen Curry, still a hug, but in the words, Klay Thompson would like to congratulate Curry on winning the championship. Anzi chuckled to himself, and he said in his heart, it's hard to say who owns the champion. The 3-point contest, this is Anzi's most sure game, his 3-point attribute is almost against the sky, and winning the final crown based on this attribute alone shouldn't be a problem. Taking a deep breath, Anzi stood up amidst the cheers of the audience. Stephen Curry scored 32 points, then Anzi performed better, 33 points, or even a full 34 points, Anzi is very confident. The flower ball point has also been changed in Anzi. From Anzi's point of view, at this point in the game, it doesn't matter which position the flower ball is placed in. Anyway, it is all centered. 5 positions, any position is very important. The flower ball point is the same everywhere. Therefore, Anzi changed it and put the ball point to the first shooting point, first finish the shot, and get the 10 points first. With a beep, the referee's whistle sounded. At the first shooting point, on the right bottom corner, Anzi grabbed the ball, leaped slightly in one step, only bounced a small height, raised his hand and shot the basketball, Huh. The first ball hits exactly. Then, the second ball was exactly the same. Angzi's shooting speed was very fast. He didn't mean to slow down his shooting rhythm in order to spend the ball point. As soon as he raised his hand, the second ball flew out immediately. Huh. Again. Then, with 3 consecutive clear net wiping sounds, Angzi completed the 5th consecutive hit for the first flower ball point. The speed is still very fast. In the final round, Angzi showed off all his strength. After shooting the first flower ball point, an 11 quickly rushed to the second shooting point, at a 45 degrees angle on the right, and with the 4 orange at the beginning, Angzi continued to make quick shots and made a steady hit. The last flower ball was a little bit stronger, bounced on the basket, exclaimed from the audience, but then bounced into the basket and scored. For the third shooting point, Angzi's hand style became smoother, and he continued to make consecutive shots. After another 5 goals, Angzi rushed to the fourth shooting point. With a 45 degrees angle on the left, there is still a lot of time, but an 11's shot is still so fast, it seems that he is not afraid of losing a shot. Huh. 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 The court was quiet, and only the sound of basketball passing through the net was heard. The sound was very crisp, like a hand beating outside the heart, which made people very excited. The fourth shooting point was another 5 goals. In the first 4 shooting points, Angzi didn't miss a goal. Angzi got all 26 points. Just as Angzi left the fourth shooting point and rushed to the fifth shooting point, there was a burst of violent cheers from the field. N. An's shouts in unison resounded again, this time from the entire Barclays Center and even the whole world. N. There was no change in Angzi's face, and it seemed that he was not affected at all. At this moment, he was very calm. Rushing to the fifth and last shooting point, Angzi grabbed a ball and raised his hand to throw it. Huh, the first orange ball hit. With the sound of wiping the net, the orange ball came out immediately following Angzi's second lesson. Huh. Still the same, keep hitting. The third orange ball, without any accidents, still score. Then, the fourth swish sounded. Boom, the Barclays Center became even more crazy in an instant. 32 points. Angzi scored 32 points again. Time is tight, because Angzi's last flower ball is about to be shot next, and the narrator can only use the fastest speech speed to broadcast the scene. With 32 points, Angzi scored 32 points again. This means that Stephen Curry's dream of directly locking in victory has been shattered. Now, regardless of whether Angzi's final goal is made or not, Stephen Curry, who also scored 32 points, has already lost a chance to win directly. Either Angzi missed the last goal and the two had the same point in the playoff, or Angzi scored the last goal and scored full points and defeated Stephen Curry to win the championship. Now there will only be these two results. There is still a lot of time for the last flower ball. Angzi raised his hand, took a glance, and then slowly threw it. This goal is very important. As long as it is scored, Angzi will be the strongest three-pointer in history. Therefore, at that moment, almost everyone's eyes were on the colorful flower ball. This ball represents the 2 points that determine the victory or defeat and determine the history. Even Angzi, who landed afterwards, held his breath and was very nervous. The basketball flew higher and higher. Angzi shot a high arc. The height was a bit frightening and seemed very dangerous. But after crossing the sky, the basketball is like a precision-guided missile, rushing straight to the basket. Huh. With the red light on, the basketball plunged into the hoop. On the field, at that moment, Angzi raised his arms. On the sidelines, there is a boiling ocean. A miracle. A miracle. Angzi staged a big comeback. Angzi staged a miracle. The first full score ever in the three-point contest, created by Angzi. It's amazing. Stephen Curry, he lost. He scored 32 points but still lost. He lost to Angzi who got full marks. This is a perfect score for making history. Angzi has become the strongest three-pointer in history. The strongest in history. Unprecedented. Everyone on both sides of the court stood up and hugged Angzi one by one, including his opponents. Redick, Marco Bellinelli, and Kelly Irving stepped forward one by one. Congratulations to Angzi for winning the crown of the strongest three-point contest in history. Even Stephen Curry, who was ultimately defeated, stepped up and hugged an 11, and congratulated an 11 for his victory. In this three-point battle, Stephen Curry was convinced that he lost. After all, Angzi got a full mark. Unless Stephen Curry also got a full mark, it would be impossible for Stephen Curry to beat Angzi in this match, but in fact, Stephen Curry didn't even have the confidence to get full marks. The three-point contest is still awarded by sponsors. Angzi walked to the center of the field amidst excited cheers, and took his third trophy of the game of the day. The three-pointer trophy, this is Naxi's third trophy in today's game. Half an hour later, he will continue to hit the fourth championship trophy today. Angzi won the three-pointer trophy, and the audience continued to cheer. With the three-pointer, Angzi's goal today is half completed, and the rest is the dunk contest. Before the dunk contest, David Aldridge continued to find Angzi. "Wow, N, your appearance is so brilliant today, you have 3 trophies." Faced with David Aldridge's surprising compliment, an 11 smiled and touched his nose and said, "You don't need to say that, David, as everyone knows, I performed very well today." David Aldridge was choked by Angzi, and he could only helplessly laugh. Then, it began his 4th interview with Angzi today. In fact, David Aldridge didn't want to see Angzi anymore, but who made Angzi always win? If nothing else, David Aldridge would even have to interview Angzi for the 5th time, and he would have to collapse if he thinks about it. Up. After 3 simple questions, Angzi turned around and went to the locker room to prepare for his dunk contest. Before the slam dunk contest, Angzi completed 3 competitions: shooting star, skill contest, and three-point contest. Physically, Angzi also needs to be supplemented. Therefore, Angzi consumed 2 glory pools under the system's prompts. One supplements one's physical fitness, and the other is to strengthen one's bounce. In this dunk contest, Angzi's goal is to guard against the sky. The theme of the dunk is tribute, but in order to make up for the lack of creativity, Angzi decided to increase the difficulty infinitely, so that fans in the audience and around the world will feel the shock of the dunk. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 675. One of the most eye-catching aspects of this dunk contest is the return of Angzi. The last time Angzi participated in the All-Star Slam Dunk contest was just a small soldier of the Spurs. After just 2 or 3 seasons, Angzi has grown into the league's #1 superstar. This is not the most surprising. The most surprising thing is that he became after the league's top star. Angzi still announced his participation in the dunk contest. You know, in the dunk contests in recent years, the all-stars in the league have been reluctant to participate. Even Blake Griffin, who is famous for dunking, has died after getting a dunk king. LeBron James has several times said to participate in the dunk contest, but also broke the contract several times. The new generation of James Harden, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant all refused to participate in the dunk contest. The reason is very simple: they are already superstars, do not need the dunk contest to increase their exposure and popularity, and even if the dunk contest does not play abnormally, they will worry about losing fans. Therefore, in this context, Angzi's announcement to participate in the dunk contest is obviously a behavior worth encouraging. The NBA fans are very excited, and the president of the league Adam Silver is also very happy. He appreciates Angzi's approach, because Angzi's approach is obviously helping the league open up the fan market. Angzi's approach reminds Adam Silver the previous suspension. Now, Adam Silver is very fortunate to have reduced Angzi's ban. Otherwise, where should an league-conscious star like Angzi look for it? What's more, Angzi's performance this season is too explosive. In 52 games before the All-Star weekend, Angzi played 46 games and averaged 33.8 points, 5.8 rebounds, 9.6 assists, 3.2 steals and 1.4 per game. Blocks, such a data, is obviously a historical average per game. In addition, Angzi also has 8 consecutive games of 50-plus, 101 points in a single game, 13 three-pointers in a single game, and 5 double miracles. If you count the personal performance of Angzi so far in this All-Star game, Angzi this season may play the strongest individual season in the history of the NBA. If later generations talk about this season, they will definitely call this season the Angzi season. The slam dunk contest returns to the classic system. The competition between East and West is no longer divided, and the off-site audience no longer decides the final slam dunk king. The league will invite 5 famous people to serve as the judges of the slam dunk contest. The 5 judges of this dunk contest are, New York Knicks star Walter Frazier and Bernard King, Philadelphia 76ers star Julius Owen, Warriors star Chris Mullin and Kings, Celtics star Nita Chibald. The 4 players who participated in the dunk contest were drawn first. Angzi drew number 1. He played first, followed by Victor Oladipo, Giannis Antetokounmpo played third, and Zach LaVine was the last. 1 appearance. An 11 was the first to play, and his pressure was great. The first show must be exciting and amazing. Therefore, after thinking about it, an 11 decided to put the dunk that was originally prepared for the second dunk into the first dunk. For the first buckle, Angzi found a helper. Angzi stood on the sidelines and beckoned. Abby, who had successfully lost weight after pregnancy, got up from the sidelines with a smile, and then walked to the sidelines. Angzi had arranged it in advance, but before the game, Angzi was still a little worried, ran over and gave a few more instructions. The audience on the sidelines saw Angzi and Abby's intimate faces whispering. The sudden dog food made the audience roar, and some joking boos and screams sounded. An 11 smiled, waved his hand to the sidelines, and then walked near the center line, ready to start his first buckle. In the first buckle, there is no ball in an 11's hands. The ball is in Abby's hands. Abby is standing on the sideline at a 45 degrees angle on the left. An 11 made a gesture and then rushed forward. Abby also threw the basketball. Angzi's first dunk is already in its infancy. Abby throws the ball, Angzi catches the ball in the air, and then dunks. However, the question is, what method Angzi used to smash the ball is still unknown. The slam dunk contest was the happiest game on the second day of the All-Star game. Right after the game began, the audience on the sidelines became active. Some even stood up and took pictures with their mobile phones, not willing to miss any shots. When Angzi rushed to the free throw line, kicked the ground abruptly, and jumped up, several screams suddenly sounded on the scene. Free throw line. Is Angzi going to reproduce the free throw line? Many people have doubts. Some people think that the free throw line take-off and dunk is very exciting, and this dunk Angzi will be very exciting. Some people think that if it is just a pure free throw line take-off and dunk, the difficulty and creativity of this dunk is it's not too bad. The last time Angzi participated in the slam dunk contest, he used the free throw line to jump and dunk. With the gimmick that the yellow race can also fly, he finally won the honor of the dunk king. But the gimmick can't be used twice, so if Angzi uses it again this time, the score will definitely not be high, unless there are other changes. Soon, Angzi showed the difference in this buckle. Receive a basketball in the air, a success. After receiving the basketball, Angzi's biggest change in the difficulty of the buckle appeared. It stretched its belly in the air, like a big bird, soaring over the arena, catching the ball with one hand, dunk. There was a loud noise, and the audience exclaimed, "Dunk! Dunk! Dunk!" Kenny Smith was very excited in the commentary. "This ball is so beautiful. Free throw line jump, air relay, tomahawk smash. Wow! It's so shocking, no one thought that these different dunks would be combined together. This ball is so beautiful. The difficulty is there, the creativity is there, and even a tribute to the classic." Charles Barkley, who knows the inside story, knows that Angzi's dunk also pays tribute to the classic. With this slam, Angzi paid tribute to the classic of free throw line take off and dunk, making the classic never fade. Angzi succeeded with one deduction. After the deduction, Angzi and Abby, who was waiting aside, gave him a hug, and then began to wait for the judges to score. Not surprisingly, this dunk with difficulty, creativity, and tribute finally got 10 points from 5 judges. Angzi's first dunk in this dunk contest. 50 points. Full marks. In response to the full cheers, Angzi sent Abby back to his seat first, and then he sat on the sidelines. With 50 points for the first deduction, Angzi can breathe a sigh of relief temporarily. Next, he only needs to wait for his 3 opponents to finish the first deduction before deciding which one to use for his second deduction. Victor Oladipo played. Before he came out, he made a gimmick. He walked out of the players' channel while singing, like a singing superstar. Then, Victor Oladipo gave a shocking 360-degree turnaround with both hands, slam dunk, dunked into the bag, and the audience burst into high-decibel cheers. In the end, the judges at the scene also complied with public opinion and gave Oladipo a perfect score of 50 points. Another full score. At this time, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Zach LaVine, who have not yet played, are the ones that are under great pressure. Giannis Antetokounmpo played. He may have been affected by the first 250 points, his first dunk played abnormally. The Greek alphabet wanted to try to throw a self-deduction. His physical fitness was really amazing. His bounce and wingspan were quite terrifying, but he tried this deduction many times, but was unsuccessful, and finally only got a 30-point score. Comfort points. Zach LaVine made his final appearance, and Zach LaVine is also one of the highlights of this dunk contest. Before participating in the draft, Zach LaVine was known for his slam dunk and was known as a new generation of trapeze. Compared to Victor Oladipo, who previously deducted full marks, Zach LaVine is the one who is believed to be the one who will compete with Angzi to the end. But now, Victor Oladipo has also scored a 50-point, which forces Zach LaVine must also work towards 50 points. For the first dunk, Zach LaVine changed his jersey directly on the sidelines. He changed into Michael Jordan's number 23 Bulls jersey. Obviously, this is also a tribute to the classic dunk. After taking the ball, Zach LaVine took the ball on the baseline. After the calm dribble accelerated, Zach LaVine gracefully vacated and changed hands under the crotch to complete a reversal dunk. Tribute to the classics. The ball Zach LaVine pointed directly at Michael Jordan, who was also watching the game from the sidelines. After a successful dunk, the audience went crazy. The referees on the sidelines also raised the scorecards of 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, and 10 points, giving Zach LaVine a perfect score of 50 points. Zach LaVine's dunk is very stretched, his bounce is very high. These are the invisible advantages of Zach LaVine. The first round of dunking 3 full points, this dunk contest is good. Except for Giannis Antetokounmpo, who played abnormally, who scored 30 points and was out early, the other 3 dunks all got a 50 points. The suspense of the dunk contest still continues. In the second round of the preliminaries, Angzi was still the first to play. For this dunk, he will continue to pay tribute to the classic and continue to jump and dunk from the free throw line. Before this buckle, Angzi also changed a jersey. Julius Owen, who was a judge on the sidelines, was shocked and then smiled. Angzi, this is a classic to pay tribute to Julius Owen. Zach Lavin just finished paying tribute to Michael Jordan, and Angzi was about to pay tribute to DRJ. Angzi put on the 76ers retro jersey and DRJ's number 6 jersey, and then stood in the middle of the court. This buckle is Angzi's run-up with the ball on his own, without any help, but with this DRJ jersey, it is enough creatively. Holding the ball and rushing to the free throw line, Angzi jumped up suddenly. It's the free throw line again. The last free throw line took off and dunk. Angzi made a lot of changes, added an aerial relay, and added a tomahawk-style split dunk. What kind of change is Angzi going to make this time? In the eyes of everyone's expectations, Angzi continued to fly in the next second. After approaching the basket, he waved the ball with one hand in the air. A shocking windmill made a bang. Amidst the exclamation of the audience, the slam succeeded. 50 points. Definitely a 50-point dunk. Salute to Julius Owen. The free throw line took off and dunked, but the difference is that Angzi added a 360 degrees windmill in the air. This dunk is too difficult and too difficult. Sure enough, the 5 judges scored 5 10 points and another 50 points. Not surprisingly, Angzi will be the first to advance to the finals. Victor Oladipo played. He was very nervous about this deduction. After Angzi scored the second 50 points, the game will start between him and Zach Lavin. With this goal, Victor Oladipo played another flower job. He walked to the sidelines, first grabbed a basketball, and then took it to the sidelines, asked the famous Hakeem Olajuwon to sign, and then he called again. His teammate Alfred Payton, the two cooperated and accelerated from the bottom line at the same time. Alfred Payton tossed the ball, Victor Oladipo caught the ball in the air. This match was relatively male, so it failed consecutively. Several times. For the last time, Victor Oladipo received a basketball in the air, turned 180 degrees in the air, and dunked in reverse. But in the end, the ball was not difficult enough and only scored 39 points. This 39 points means that the preliminaries are basically over and Angzi advances ahead of schedule. As long as the last Zach Lavin plays normally, he will advance to the final together, although the chance of promotion is very high. But Zach Lavin's last buckle was still very careful. He used his famous stunt to throw the ball into the air by himself, then take off in one step, and after receiving the ball, he changed hands behind the air with a bang to complete a dunk. Full marks. Another full score. Zach Lavin followed Angzi's pace closely, with the same 2 perfect scores, and advanced to the finals. Angzi deeply felt the threat from Zach Lavin to him, so Angzi changed his original plan after the first buckle in the final. In the final round, Angzi and Zach Lavin had the same points, so the order of appearance of the two was drawn out by drawing lots again. Zach Lavin buckles first, so Angzi can sit comfortably on the sidelines and watch Zach Lavin first buckle. For the first dunk in the final of Zach Lavin, he called his teammate Andrew Wiggins, and after receiving a pass from Wiggins, he vacated his crotch and changed hands to dunk. This action is still wonderful, but compared to the 2 dunks in the preliminaries, it is a bit bleak, and in the end only a 45 points. The first dunk in the Angzi final still inherited the dunk from the preliminaries, and it was still the free throw line take-off dunk. Unlike the previous free throw line air relay tomahawk-style split dunk and the windmill dunk at the free throw line, this time he once again increased the difficulty of the free throw line dunk. While flying through the air, he even played a crotch hand change in such a difficult state, and when he approached the basket, he dunked in angrily. This buckle was extremely difficult, and Angzi scored another 50 points, and the pressure was all on Zach Lavin's side. Zach Lavin's last buckle, because the first buckle was 5 points behind, so Zach Lavin was very serious about this buckle. He decided to increase the difficulty of the last buckle infinitely. Zach Ravin is about to take out his dunk from the bottom of the box. This is his last chance. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 676. Zach Ravin's fourth buckle, this is his last chance. He still has a chance to win this dunk contest. Angzi's first 3 dunks are all free throw lines. This may mean that Angzi's creativity is lacking. The last dunk really has a chance to come back. Zach Ravin's third deduction took a 45 point, which looked very low, but it was a bit lower than the full score. In fact, it was still very high. After all, the 4 judges all gave 9 points. Obviously not. Forget it. If Angzi does not play well in the fourth buckle, it is very likely that Zach Ravin will overtake the total points, so there is still a chance. Since there is a chance, you have to fight for it. For this fourth buckle, Zach Ravin must get a full score. Zach Lavin took a deep breath. He was a little nervous, but dunking was his fame stunt and his route. He knew that the dunk must be successful. Holding the ball in both hands, Zach Ravin directly threw the ball forward. Then, he rushed directly from the sideline and jumped up. After receiving the basketball in the air, he tried a backhand buckle after a big turn in the air, but the first buckle was a little too close and failed. This buckle revealed the prototype of Zach Lavin's last buckle. Obviously, this is a self-throwing and self-buckling 360 degrees turn and split buckle. This buckle is enough to get 50 points, but it is very dangerous. So, the commentators on the sidelines were not optimistic about Zach Ravin's last buckle. The 360 degrees turn and slam dunk is not that difficult, but compared to the previous full-point dunks, this dunk is still very dangerous. As long as there is a small flaw, the judges on the sidelines may deduct 1 point from this deduction. It's a bit dangerous. Zach Ravin is getting further and further away from the Dunk King's trophy. On the court, Zach Ravin regained his basketball, ready to start his second attempt. Is his dunk at the bottom of the box really that simple? Obviously not. Still throwing the ball by himself, Zach Ravin still threw it from the same position. After rushing out, he jumped into the air and caught the ball in the air. After another 360 degrees turn, Zach Ravin made another dunk. The change just became apparent. Make an abdomen stretch in the air, and then, with a bang, pour the basketball into the basket. Boom. Everyone was shocked. Self-throwing and self-buckling. Tomahawk-style buckle after a 360 degrees turn. It's so beautiful. The difficulty of the ball is enough. Yes, Zach Ravin did a beautiful job, stretched his movements, and spent a long time in the air. This is a dunk action with perfect score. Zach Ravin succeeded in his second attempt, and the judges began to score. Bernard King, 10 points. Walter Fraser, 10 points. Julius Owen, 10 points. Chris Mullen, 10 points. Nate Archibald, still 10 points. 10 points. Zach Ravin finally got a perfect score for his fourth buckle. He slammed his arm with excitement, and this buckle kept Zach Ravin hope of winning the championship. Angzi appeared in the cheers, but the cheers were not for him, but for Zach Ravin. Lavin's fourth buckle is indeed wonderful, super suspended in the air, 360 degrees big turn, and the tomahawk-like action is added. The difficulty is very enjoyable. I have to say that this buckle is definitely worthy of 50 points. Full marks. However, Angzi is also very confident in his fourth dunk, which is definitely a perfect dunk. So, this dunk Wang Angzi has decided. Taking off his training uniform, N11 waved his hands to the sideline twice and went straight out. After getting the basketball, Angzi's buckle didn't have much effort. There is still a tribute dunk, Angzi had already thought about it. Charles Barkley in the commentary gave an unexplained smile. He somehow knew what Angzi's fourth button was. I saw Michael Jordan sitting on the sidelines, maybe the next ball, he has to jump up and watch. Kenny Smith clearly felt that Charles Barkley was wrong, and he suddenly discovered that Charles Barkley seemed to know something. "Charles, do you know anything?" Charles Barkley didn't hide it either. He nodded, "Yes, I know some. Angzi's last dunk is wonderful. Dunk King, Angzi is about to book." Charles Barkley made a promise and sold it, and everyone was looking forward to it. On the field, Angzi is ready. Angzi stood at the top of the arc, and first tried to toss the ball, but after the toss, he did not run, let alone dunk. This toss was more like a trial throw. It seems that Angzi is going to play a self-deduction. Angzi moved when he dropped the ball for the second time. The basketball bounced on the floor and Angzi rushed directly up and jumped up. After taking off the basketball in the air, Angzi directly held the ball in one hand, changing his left hand from the back, and handing the ball to the right hand. There was another exclaim from the sidelines. "Change hands behind." But this is not over yet. After receiving the ball with his right hand, Angzi did not directly raise the right hand that received the ball. Instead, he continued to press down with his right hand. There was a crotch to change hands, a super stagnant air in the air. Continue to turn around. He picked up the ball with his left hand and turned his back to the basket. With a bang, a one-handed shocking back buckle. The audience burst. Walking in the air. Beautiful. That's right, this ball pays tribute to Michael Jordan's classic. Angzi walked in the air, and Michael Jordan stood up directly on the sidelines. This ball is so beautiful, it not only pays tribute to Michael Jordan's aerial walk, but also increases the difficulty. Back then, Michael Jordan's aerial walk caused a shock to the entire NBA. Now, Angzi has not only reused it, but has also increased the difficulty. This deduction, if there is number 50 points, is definitely not convinced. Another dunk with perfect score, walking in the air. Angzi paid tribute to Michael Jordan's walking in the air, but this dunk was even more difficult. A 50-pointer didn't run. Angzi panted and walked out from under the basket. Before the judges could score, he went over and shook hands one by one. Then, the judges followed one by one and gave their own points. Bernard King, 10 points. Walter Frazier, 10 points. Chris Mullin, 10 points. Nate Archibald, 10 points. In the end, Julius Owen gave 10 points. Full marks, no suspense. Slam dunk. Angzi. No suspense. With 4 full points, Angzi scored 200 points in total, without losing 1 point, and won the laurel of the Dunk King. This is also the 4th championship trophy that Angzi has won today. The strongest Dunk King in history, Angzi defeated everyone with 4 full points, and finally won the Dunk King trophy of this dunk contest. Zakravin's performance was already very strong, but he was helpless. Stronger Angzi. Angzi raised the trophy of Dunk King from the sidelines. This is today his 4th trophy. Today, he has gained a lot. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 677. On the 3rd day of the All-Star Weekend, the highlight and main event of the All-Star officially kicked off. This year's All-Star Game was held at Madison Square Garden Arena. In this mecca of basketball, the All-Star Game has become more formal, popular, and popular. Needless to say, celebrities from all walks of life on the sidelines, the advantages of the New York metropolis are reflected, and this All-Star Game has attracted much attention. When Angzi arrived at the arena, the center of the arena had already been set up as a stage. The lights in the arena were dimmed and the appearance ceremony was about to begin. Before the opening, the lights in the arena continued to flicker, turning the black cloth in the center of the court into different patterns, including the benchmarks of the 30 NBA teams. Angzi is ready in the background, and the stars participating in this year's All-Star are also ready. Then, the appearance ceremony will begin. Angzi is now the well-deserved first person in the league. Whether it is the team record, personal data, or personal honor performance this season, they are all the first person in the league, and they are the second longest distance away, so, Angzi deserves to be the finale. He waited in the background. Carmelo Anthony played first, and then James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyle Lowry, John Wall and others played one after another. LeBron James is the penultimate player in the Eastern Conference. In the past few years, he played the finale in the Eastern Conference, but now that Angzi has overtaken him, it is impossible for him to play the finale. LeBron James glanced at Angzi and ran out. There was a burst of cheers in the court. Then, in the West End, Stephen Curry made his final appearance, cheering wildly in the arena. Although the elementary school student lost the three-point contest, his popularity in the United States has not diminished. There are still many die-hard fans who support him. In the end, it was an 11 who played. Finally, let's welcome the forward swingman from the Philadelphia 76ers. Angzi. Hearing the DJ calling his name, Angzi quickly stood up and stood at the entrance of the passage. After stomping his feet severely, an 11 rushed out. Boom! The heat in the arena suddenly rushed towards Angzi, and the fans on the scene burst into violent cheers, cheering louder than anyone else before. No way, after all, Angzi is now popular in the NBA. Number 1. After playing, the All-Star Game is about to begin. In this All-Star Game, the head coaches of the two teams are Brett Brown and Steve Kerr, both of whom are newcomers on the All-Star Game. Brett Brown never thought that he could stand on the All-Star Arena and direct a group of big-name stars to play games, but this season, the 76ers ranked first in the East with a strong performance. The head coach of the All-Star Game must be Non Bray. It's none other than Tebron. And Steve Kerr is a pure rookie. He just became the Warriors coach this season, and then led the Warriors to a big dark horse level performance. He currently ranks first in the Western Conference. Under his command, the Warriors have also played fast. Small ball whirlwind offensive. Stephen Curry also played MVP level performance. The two rookie coaches came on stage, and Angzi also hugged Brett Brown in the past. Before the game, Angzi had agreed with Brett Brown. In this All-Star Game, Angzi wants the final MVP trophy, so there are still many opportunities for Angzi in this game. After a short warm-up, the referee also appeared. The referees for this game are currently several referees that the league is currently supporting. The head referee is the bald referee Joe Crawford, and the two assistant referees are the beautiful referee Lauren Hotcomb and the experienced referee Mike Callahan. Joe Crawford walked to the center of the field, holding the ball in one hand, signaling the appearance of the starters on both sides. The Eastern Division starters include point guard John Wall, shooting guard Angzi, small forward LeBron James, power forward Carmelo Anthony and center Pau Gasol. Looking at the starting lineup alone, LeBron James obviously has few helpers in the East. In the starting lineup, Carmelo Anthony has a good relationship with him, but Angzi. In the starting lineup, there is a teammate of his team, Paul Gasol, and even John Wall also got along better with Angzi. In the Western Conference, starting point guard Stephen Curry, shooting guard James Harden, small forward Kevin Durant, power forward LaMarcus Aldridge and center Marc Gasol. The start of the two teams, the final show of the All-Star Weekend is about to begin. Angzi was ready to move. Pau Gasol and his brother Marc Gasol jumped the ball, and in the end, his brother Pau Gasol won the jump ball. The Eastern Division won the ball in the opening offense, and the basketball was directly handed over to point guard John Wall on the court. John Wall is the number one point guard in passing, and his offensive ability is also very strong, but he just prefers to pass. Angzi knew this too well, so from the beginning, Angzi ran without the ball. On the first goal, Pau Gasol would also care, and he directly gave an 11 a screen in the penalty area. An 11 passed the screen and thrown off James Harden, who was not strong in defense, and got an open opportunity. John Wall's. The pass came afterwards. Angzi raised his hand and shot, hitting 2 points. Angzi scored the first point in the All-Star game. In contrast, LeBron James, who has been waiting for 45 degrees on the right, has no chance at all. Obviously, the opportunity is not to wait, but to find it by yourself. Then, the West Division offensive, and the Eastern Division's defense is just doing something, easily allowing Stephen Curry to get a three-pointer. Stephen Curry hit a three-pointer and opened 3:2. The game continued and the Eastern Division attacked. John Wall tried to hit a goal, but failed to make a layup after rushing into the interior. The inside line composed of Marc Gasol and LaMarcus Aldridge still pretended to be defensive, and eventually it was also defensive. Marc Gasol grabbed a rebound. Western team counterattack, it was Stephen Curry again, a layup, scored 5 points in a row. Stephen Curry scored 5 points in a row, and his offense was also very strong in this game, obviously moving towards the MVP. In this All-Star game, Angzi's opponent not only has LeBron James, but also Stephen Curry on the opposite side. He not only has to win the game, but also win the data battle with LeBron James. In the Eastern Division's offense, John Wall was also unselfish in the opening, and the basketball was handed over to LeBron James, allowing LeBron James to play a goal. But LeBron James also failed to make a mid-range shot, and the Western Conference counterattacked. This time Kevin Durant scored 2 points and the score suddenly became 7:2. The Western Division's counterattack was sharp, but the Eastern Division played very slowly. The basketball was handed over to Carmelo Anthony. After Anthony played with a low back, he turned and scored 2 points. The quick break of the Western Division team continued. This time it was Stephen Curry's shot, but the three-pointer failed to make a three-pointer. Angzi got inside and grabbed the rebound. Then he didn't favor either, he gave the ball to Pau Gasol, Gasol in the low singles his brother Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol also put a goal, smiled and watched Paul Gasol put the basket to get 2 points. All 5 of the Eastern Division team played a wave of offense. Angzi, Anthony, and Pau Gasol each scored 2 points. The score of the two teams was 7:6, and the Western Division took the lead. The next wave of offense is still in the hands of the West Division team. Brett Brown on the sidelines couldn't help thinking. Obviously, Steve Kerr has a routine in this game. Judging from the opening fast play and fast break, Steve Kerr's routine is to play fast, use speed to defeat the defense of the Eastern Division team, and even the offense. Tebron felt he should respond. In any case, the victory of this game is still to be won. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 678. Brett Brown's response was very simple. He walked directly to the sidelines and allowed the controlling John Wall to speed up the pace. Since it was to speed up the pace, John Wall was no longer humbly. With this shot, he directly rushed into the penalty area of the West Division. John Wall passed the ball back and Angzi, who had been running, received the basketball. Angzi scored another 2 points for a jumper after an emergency stop. At 8:7, the Eastern Division overtook 1 point and the game continued. The West Division offensive, and the West Division also played to share the ball. Stephen Curry, who was continuously offensive, didn't have a craving for the ball this time. He gave the ball to James Harden and turned himself into a ball-free state. James Harden singles Angzi. Angzi also became serious all of a sudden. He also has some entertaining spirit, but Angzi believes that if you really want to please the fans on the sidelines, you should get serious at this time and guard against James Harden. The matchup between the league's first and second shooting guard. Anxi took the defense seriously, and James Harden was miserable. With his offensive strength, there is still a chance to break through Anxi's defense, but James Harden is a little reluctant to attack the All-Star game. With one leap, James Harden rushed to the free throw line, seeing that he still couldn't get rid of Anxi's defense. James Harden held the ball and stuck it towards Anxi. This was an attempt to commit Anxi's foul. But obviously, James Harden made the wrong calculation. This is an all-star game. Joe Crawford is so eye-catching. How could James Harden make such a blatant foul? In particular, James Harden's foul is still Anxi. If Anxi gets fouled at the beginning, or even gets 2 consecutive fouls in the first quarter and has to leave early, Joe Crawford, the referee, may not do it. Because Adam Silver opened him. Therefore, when James Harden leaned against an 11 also posted it up. The referee did not blow the whistle, and an 11 had a bottom, and he directly took the ball. Snapped. The basketball was taken away by Anxi, exclaiming all over the court. Anxi steals. James Harden was stunned. He didn't expect at all that he committed fouls in the regular season and failed in the All-Star game. What else did he play? So he spread his hands and asked Joe Crawford directly. James Harden's move caused Charles Barkley in the commentary to shake his head. James Harden is like a child who is still breastfeeding. He is already crying for a little milk. This is the All-Star game. Adam Silver is also watching from the sidelines. Joe Crawford is naturally righteous to let James Harden quickly back to defense. On the court, an 11 rushed all the way to the front court. Since the referee didn't blow his whistle, he could directly initiate a fast attack and counter-attack. Therefore, Anxi turned back and rushed to the front court and made a layup. At 10:7, the Eastern Division led by 3 points. At this time, James Harden in the backcourt found that Anxi had scored, and he had no choice but to leave. Stephen Curry continued to pass the ball. This time the ball was given to LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge hit a mid-range jumper. 10:9. The Eastern Division attacked and Anxi got the ball directly. LeBron James was a bit depressed. He found that in the All-Star game, he could not get the ball. Anxi never thought about giving LeBron James the ball. James can find a chance, maybe he will consider passing the ball to James, but James can't find the opportunity. This ball Anxi obviously has to come by himself. James Harden faced Anxi's strong attack. He also wanted to seriously defend a goal, but his defense, in front of Anxi's strong attack, is almost paperless. Anxi singles back in high position, turned and leaned back for a jumper. Easily score a goal. In the opening, Anxi made 4 of 4 shots and scored 8 points in a row. The state was so good that it broke the table. There were also players from the Western Conference who kept up with Anxi's scoring rhythm. Seeing Anxi scored another 4 points in a row, Stephen Curry was not to be outdone and rushed to the front court for a high basket and also scored 2 points. In this regard, Stephen Curry opened 3 of 4 shots and scored 7 points. The two continued their scoring. In the Eastern Division, the ball continued to be given to Anxi. After all, Anxi is in the best condition and scored consecutively. John Wall was also happy to give the ball to Anxi and let Anxi show. An 11, who had just won the Dunk King, immediately showed a dunk, breaking through James Harden, who had no intention of fighting, and Anxi broke into the inside and showed off a windmill dunk. The fans in the audience were overjoyed. This was the first high point in the All-Star game. After Anxi dunked, he roared, and the audience was boiling. After 10 points, Anxi's scoring has risen very quickly, but other statistics have risen a little bit slowly, but Anxi is not in a hurry. He knows that most of the time, the All-Star game is compared to whose score. In the first quarter, Anxi made 8 shots and 8 hits. In the first quarter, he scored 17 points. including a three-pointer. After half a quarter, Anzi was also replaced. LeBron James continues to play, and now he is a little anxious. He only scored 7 points in the half quarter. You must know that after the All-Star system is changed, the game will be divided into 2 quarters in total, that is, the previous half. The quarter time is 30 minutes, 60 minutes for the whole game. LeBron James started to exert his strength after Anzi left the field. He had no idea of passing the ball anymore. He only knew to take the ball alone and want to catch up with Anzi's scoring. The scores from the East and the West were very anxious. When Anzi was on the field, the Eastern Division Anzi kept scoring, and the Western Division was constantly scoring by Stephen Curry. After Anzi and Stephen Curry left the field, the Eastern Division was carried by LeBron James. The banner of offense, the Western Division also has a strong substitute like Russell Westbrook. Both sides continued to score. LeBron James even played better than Anzi, not only can score himself, but also assist his teammates to score consecutive points. In this way, the game played for another 7 or 8 minutes, and in the first half of the first quarter, LeBron James also gradually brushed his score above 15 points. When Brett Brown changed again, LeBron James' scoring rose to 16 points, and his assists were more than Anzi. It can be said that as long as the Eastern Conference wins, he deserves the final MVP trophy more than Anzi. Facing the situation of being completely thrown away by Anzi, LeBron James is also very anxious. He feels that if he can grab the MVP trophy, it means that he still has a fight in front of Anzi. Therefore, LeBron James worked very hard, and it seems that the result of hard work is not bad. The score is about to surpass Anzi, and other statistics are already higher than Anzi. It is not impossible to win the MVP trophy in the end. After LeBron James left the field, Anzi played again. Brett Brown replaced Anzi with a lineup most suitable for him to play. Point guard Jeff Teague, small forward Jimmy Butler, power forward Paul Millsap and center Al Horford. This starting lineup is actually Jimmy Butler, the Big Three and the Bulls. These four have a good relationship with Anzi. The Big Three has a good relationship with Anzi because of Mike Budenholzer's relationship, and Jimmy Butler has a good relationship with Anzi. I have been promoted by Anzi before, and the relationship is good. This lineup is obviously to make Anzi happy. It is impossible for the other four on the court to grab the ball with Anzi. There were more than 10 minutes left in the first quarter, and Anzi had to play at least half of the time. Brett Brown also gave face to Anzi. He gave Anzi 8 minutes and played until more than 3 minutes left in the first quarter. Replace. In this way, after the first quarter of the game, Anzi scored 27 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. In his second appearance, Anzi paid special attention to passing the ball. He made several passes. Direct assists Paul Millsap and Al Horford scored, and in the end they also scored a few assists. The face of LeBron James off the court was almost green. Anzi's stats once again rose to a position that he was difficult to match. For the remaining 3 minutes of the first quarter, Brett Brown also gave him a chance, but he brushed it off. LeBron James also brushed his own score to 20 points, in addition to 5 rebounds and 7 assists. Now, LeBron James only has one more rebounding data than Anzi, and other data is less than Anzi. Obviously, he is in a dangerous situation. In the first quarter, the first half of the game, the Eastern Division scored 78 points, and the Western Division scored 82 points and was 4 points ahead. However, the score was still very anxious, especially with 30 minutes left in the game. Next, this 4-point gap is not called a gap at all. In the second half of the game, Brett Brown let LeBron James take the starter for a while. LeBron James was very depressed. With the starter, he didn't have many opportunities. John Wall needed the ball, and Carmelo Anthony also the ball is needed, even Kyle Lowry, who started for Anxi, also needs the ball. In this way, LeBron James does not dare to act arbitrarily. He can only occasionally pick up the ball once and get a point or two. After playing for 5 or 6 minutes, he was replaced. 5 or 6 minutes later, LeBron James's personal data rose to 25 points, 6 rebounds and 8 assists. The data seems to catch up with Anxi, but next is Anxi's playing time. LeBron James knows very well that he about to be thrown away by Anxi. As soon as LeBron James left the field, Anxi was replaced. He also played with point guard Kelly Irving, power forward Chris Bosh, and center Paul Gasol. Kyle Lowry stayed on the court as a guest shooting guard, while Anxi went up to the third position against the Western Conference. Kawhi Leonard of the team. Against Leonard, Anxi encountered a challenge. Leonard's defense is not comparable to James Harden. The two are not at the same level. At this stage of the game, the players in the East and West regions start to play. After all, everyone wants the final victory. In the second half of the game, the real showdown has just begun. Faced with Kawhi Leonard's long arms, Anxi was not afraid. He turned his back and turned to jump shots from mid-range continuously. He hit 4 goals in 6 shots and raised his own score to 35 points. After 6 consecutive shots, Anxi also has consciousness increased his passing. He played 2 rounds of pick and rolls on the perimeter. After the 2 rounds of pick and rolls, the opponents chose to surround himself and let Anxi continuously assist Chris Bosh to hit long shots. After 2 consecutive assists, Anxi's assist data was almost in double figures. The rebounding data is also steadily increasing. After the defensive strength of the two teams increased, the two sides also started to fight for iron, which naturally increased a lot of rebounds. In yesterday's game, Anxi broke many records and upgraded several times. Among them, he also chose to upgrade his rebounding attributes. Now Anxi is also a good rebounder. After grabbing 5 rebounds in a row, Anxi's rebounding data has gradually risen to 9 and is only 1 short of double figures. Soon, in the next 3 waves of offense, Anxi first played a strong individual single and scored 2 points. Then, steal Kawhi Leonard, turned around and made a fast attack, assisted Kelly Irving, scored 2 points, got the 10th assist in the game. Finally, Anxi grabbed another offensive rebound and made a tip-off. He played a total of 8 minutes in the second half. An 11 improved his personal data to 41 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals and 1 block. In terms of MVP competition in the All-Star game, Anxi was already far ahead. Then, LeBron James also failed to get playing time, because more time needs to be allocated to the substitute players. He and Anxi sat down on the court to rest. The benches between the two sides competed, and in the end, with more than 5 minutes left in the game, the main players from both sides reappeared. At this time, the scores between the two sides are already very huge. The Eastern Division trailed the Western Division by 2 points, 142-144. The final battle began, and the intrigue within the Eastern and Western Divisions officially began. On the East side, Anxi and LeBron James grabbed the shots. On the West side, the substitute Russell Westbrook performed well. He also grabbed the shot rights with the starter Stephen Curry, but regardless, both sides need to win to ensure that the final MVP belongs to them. Therefore, the performance of both sides to grab the ball is still very restrained. Anxi is in good shape, and in the end he can get more shots. In the last 5 minutes, Anxi hit 3-pointers consecutively, helping the Eastern Division team to overtake the score and stabilize the victory. In the end, the Eastern Division defeated the Western Division 167-160 and won the All-Star game. Anxi scored 48 points, 12 rebounds, 13 assists, 5 steals, and 2 blocks, and he deservedly became the final MVP winner. This time, Adam Silver presented the award in person, and Anzi became the biggest winner of the 2015 All-Star Weekend. He not only led the team to win the Masters and Rookie Challenges, but also personally played, winning the Shooting Star Contest, the Skill Contest, the Three-Point Contest and the Slam Dunk Contest, plus the MVP trophy of this All-Star race. It can be said the trophies that can be won throughout the All-Star Weekend were all won by Anzi. This time, he had a bumper harvest. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 679. After the All-Stars, Anzi was much more stable. Compared with the first half, personal performance is obviously much more stable. In consecutive games, Anzi did not get a high score, but the score has never been lower than 30 points, all of which are above 30 points. Anzi actually brushed in the second half. After a few games of triple-doubles, many people are deeply moved. Are there any shortcomings in Anzi now? It should be gone. There are no dead corners on the offensive end. The defensive end itself started with a single defense. Later, the assist defense was also very good. In the follow-up development, the rebound and assists did not fall. Now Anzi is really versatile. Anzi's statistics are stable, and the 76ers have lost and lost. Of course, they still win more games overall. In the remaining 5 games in February, the 76ers achieved a 4 wins and 1 loss record, and only lost the first game after the All-Star. They accidentally lost to the Pacers, but after that, the 76ers' 4 consecutive victories, each is an extremely easy victory. After February, the team's record has also improved to 44 wins and 13 losses, still ranking first in the East. As a result, Anzi became the Eastern Player of the Month in February. This is obvious. Anzi is playing the best performance of his career, and it may also be one of the most successful season performances in NBA history. This kind of performance, it's normal for a few months to be the best. At the beginning of March, the 76ers encountered several strong opponents, but in the face of strong opponents, the 76ers' performance was still very good. The Washington Wizards first played in March. The Wizards have an outstanding record this season. The record of 33 wins and 25 losses ranks 6th in the East. It is a strong team in the playoffs. Under the leadership of John Wall and Bradley Beal, the Wizards' strength cannot be underestimated. The Wizards have all the elements necessary to become a strong team. An all-star holder John Wall, a star-level shooter Bradley Beal, and an excellent center Mohsen Gotat. As well as an experienced and outstanding veteran Paul Pierce, the team's configuration is still very complete, but in the face of Anzi's unsolvable strength, the Wizards have nothing to do, and finally defeated by 83-93. After the 76ers won 5 consecutive victories and easily defeated their direct opponents in the playoffs in the East, the 76ers accidentally defeated the 76ers Pacers before the away challenge. Paul George is back, but his condition is not very good. After a severely broken leg, he does take a while to get back to his condition. Paul George's mentality is very good. He didn't get scared on the court because of a broken leg. On the contrary, he still dared to make moves. In this game, he only played 13 minutes, but there was a dunk in Anzi. A goal dunked under his defense. Obviously, there is no problem with his mentality. As long as there is no problem with the mentality of such a seriously injured player, there will be no big problems in the future. Challenged to the Pacers away, the 76ers under normal conditions can still easily beat the Pacers, so, a wave of 6 consecutive victories, the 76ers record came to 46 wins and 13 losses. And then, in the third game of March, the 76ers faced the Raptors at home. The Raptors have an outstanding record this season. At present, with a record of 37 wins and 22 losses, they are ranked 5th in the Eastern Conference. The 76ers have encountered an Eastern Conference playoff team. The Raptors, ranked 5th in the Eastern Conference, may even be ranked 5th in the playoffs. Faced with the 76ers in the second round, so it can be regarded as a direct opponent of the 76ers in the playoffs. The game was not too difficult to play. The 76ers took the lead at the beginning. Under Angzi's leadership, the 76ers opened a wave of 15:8, leading the Raptors by 7 points, and then the star scores that improved greatly the season. Defender DeMar DeRozan was frantically rubbed on the floor by Angzi, and the Raptors could only rely on Kyle Lowry and Valanciunas inside to hold the game. However, the 76ers' lead has been maintained. At halftime, the 76ers maintained a 10-point lead. In the second half, Angzi continued to exert his strength in this position. A burst of individual singles exploded DeMar DeRozan, and the point difference was widened to 20 points. In this way, the three quarters ended, and the suspense of the whole game ended. The 76ers beat the Raptors at home and scored 7 consecutive victories, and Angzi also scored a gorgeous quasi-triple-double of 33 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists and 3 steals, blasting the entire game with 4 of 16 shots. DeMar DeRozan scored 11 points. This game also reflected Angzi's personal abilities. On the position of shooting guard alone, Shan Angzi can beat any shooting guard in the league today. With this alone, the 76ers can easily win most of the games. Especially against those teams with the second position as the core, it is simply overwhelming. After playing the Raptors, the 76ers ran into the Thunder again. This game is an away game. The Thunder's strength is not weak, but this season, their record is not good. Because of Kevin Durant's injury, the Thunder can only rely on Russell Westbrook for independent support. With Russell Westbrook alone, the Thunder's record is naturally not good. So far, their record is 33 wins, 27 losses. In the case of the West's overall record, their record has been hovering in the West's 8th and 9th, and eventually may not even make the playoffs. In this game, Angzi continued to show off at the second position. The Thunder's second starter Andre Robertson was very similar to Angzi back then. He was based on the league in single defense, but facing Angzi's strong attack, Andre Robertson's defense was a bit too tender. But on the Thunder side, Russell Westbrook is also superstellar. Opening consecutive singles Ismail Smith succeeded, and Angzi formed a momentum of scoring. Angzi scored 13 points in the first quarter. Russell Westbrook played more explosively than Angzi and scored 19 points. After all, he has unlimited firepower in the Thunder. In the first quarter, he only has to come by himself. Russell Westbrook chose to come by himself. After Westbrook scored 19 points in the first quarter, Angzi applied for a change of defense against Russell Westbrook in the second quarter. Thus, the same plot appeared. Similar to the battle against the Raptors, after Angzi switched to Russell Westbrook, a crushing battle began again. Russell Westbrook did slightly better than DeMar DeRozan in the face of Angzi's defense, but it was only slightly better. He made 3 of 8 shots in the second quarter, which completely eliminated the runaway in the first quarter. State now. In the second quarter, Westbrook scored only 7 points on 3 of 8 shots, and Angzi scored another 14 points in the second quarter. The 76ers led the Thunder by 12 at halftime. The balance of victory began to tilt towards the 76ers. In the second half of the game, Russell Westbrook faced Angzi's defense more and more difficultly. In the second half of the third quarter, it was even more for chasing points, playing Angzi consecutively, but continuously hitting iron. In the end, the 3 quarters ended, and the points difference came to 20 points again. In the end, defeated Oklahoma City Thunder 123-107 and won 8 straight games. Angzi scored 38 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists and 4 steals in a triple-double. Russell Westbrook also performed very well, making 14 of 36 shots in the game, scoring 35 points, 7 rebounds and 8 assists, but in the end, Russell Westbrook lost the personal and team double duel. After 8 consecutive victories, the 76ers won 2 more games in a row, defeating the Jazz and the Hawks one after another at home. After another wave of 10 consecutive victories, the 76ers won 50 games. With 50 wins and 13 losses, the 76ers are getting better. Anzi is no longer frantically brushing data like mid-season, but only when he needs his strength. Such Anzi is actually the most terrifying. Often, Anzi's key 3 punches and 2 kicks can take away a game victory. After the 50th win of the season, the 76ers can relax. For the next game, they only need to play steadily, win the victory that should be won, keep the current position of the league first, and keep their playoff advantage. Their regular season tasks can be completely completed. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 680. In March, after the Sixers' initial 10-game winning streak, the situation in the East was settled. In the remaining 12 games in March, the 76ers lost 2 of them. In this way, at the end of March, the 76ers won a record of 60 wins and 15 losses, one step ahead of time to lock the first place in the East. For the remaining 7 games in April, the 76ers steadily won the next wave of 7 consecutive victories, including the winning streak in March. At the end of the season, the 76ers achieved a wave of more than 10 consecutive victories. Throughout the season, the 76ers have won 4 consecutive victories of more than 10 games, which can be regarded as an alternative feat. In the end, the 76ers' record was 67 wins and 15 losses, ranking first in the league. Anzi averaged 35.4 points, 8.0 rebounds, 9.7 assists, 3.2 steals and 1.4 blocks per game in the season. He won the title of scoring and steals of the season. With such a record and personal data, Anzi is the MVP of the regular season. In addition, Anzi has the opportunity to compete for several other awards. The Most Improved Player Award. Last season, Anzi averaged 29.4 points, 4.2 rebounds, 8.4 assists, 3.4 steals, and 0.9 blocks per game. This season, Anzi's scoring increased by 6 points and rebounds by 3.8 compared to last season. Assists rose by 1.3, steals rose by 0.2, blocks rose by 0.5, and all 5 basic data rose, especially in points and rebounds. The rise was particularly pronounced. Therefore, Anzi also has a good chance for the Most Improved Player Award. The Best Defensive Player, Anzi's defensive data, 8 rebounds, 3.2 steals and 1.4 blocks are all high. The steals are the league's first, the rebounds are in the top 30 in the league, and the blocks are also in the top 15 in the league. The overall defense of the 76ers is also good. This season, the 76ers can rank 3rd in the league in points per game. Coupled with Anzi's personal defensive performance on the court, this season, Anzi is very likely to win this heavyweight regular season honor. In addition, there is no need to say more about one defense and one defense. No one can squeeze Anzi down for these 2 honors. The league's selection of several awards in the regular season began as early as a week ago, and when the regular season is over, all the selections are over, and the results of the selection will be announced one by one in the playoffs. Regarding the regular season awards, Anzi did not pay much attention to it. He knew that regardless of whether he paid attention or not, the awards had already been judged. If it is his or not, there is no need to think about it. It is really important. It's the playoffs that will start next. In the playoffs, the 76ers are number 1 in the Eastern Conference, and their opponent in the first round will be the Boston Celtics, ranked 8th in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics' performance this season was amazing. They were originally still in the rebuilding period. They made consecutive deals in the middle of the season and sent Lagarando in exchange for Isaiah Thomas. No one thought that this deal would directly allow the Celtics People take off. Compared to Lagarando, Isaiah Thomas is more suitable for the system of the young coach Brad Stevens. In the second half of the season, Isaiah Thomas, known as the strongest on the surface at 1.75 meters, played 21 games and averaged 19.0 points, 2.1 rebounds and 5.4 assists, helping the Celtics secure a playoff spot at the end of the season. However, this group of duels is considered to be no suspense. On the one hand, the 76ers are too strong. The 76ers easily won the league's first place in the regular season. Angzi's data is gorgeous, but anyone with a discerning eye can see that the regular season the Angzi of the game is obviously not fully safe. What's more, Angzi was suspended for 6 games during the regular season. In those 6 games, the 76ers lost 5 of them. If Angzi was not suspended, if Angzi played harder in the regular season, perhaps the Bulls' 72-win record. It may not be guaranteed. On the other hand, the strengths and weaknesses of the Celtics team are too obvious and easy to be targeted. The Celtics' strong point is Isaiah Thomas on the perimeter, but Isaiah Thomas, who is only 1.75 meters tall, has a hard time performing in the playoffs. It is just the perimeter teamed by Angzi and Ismail Smith. Defense is enough for Isaiah Thomas to drink a pot. The Celtics' weaknesses are also obvious. They lack a strong inside line. The starting power forward is Jared Salinger, who has been unable to realize his potential. The center is the rotation of Olynyk and Taylor Zeller, but whether it is Olynyk still Taylor Zeller, who has no starting level strength, facing the inside combination of Norrens Knoll and Pau Gasol with 1 offense and 1 defense, such an inside combination is obviously very easy to be penetrated. Therefore, in the first round of the duel, the 76ers are not under pressure. In the second round, the 76ers will face the winner between the 4th Eastern Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors. The Bulls' performance this season is average. Although Derrick Rose is back, Rose's contribution on the court is more of a negative value, only to play at the critical moment, but when it really meets the 76ers, maybe the Bulls can't even reach the critical moment, let alone play. The Raptors are very optimistic about the team. The combination of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan in the backcourt is favored by many people, and Valanciunas in the interior is also good. If the Raptors have any shortcomings, it must be the lack of a good defensive wing and the lack of a qualified starting power forward. For the 76ers, if they can face the Raptors in the second round, promotion will become very easy again, because Angzi can completely crush DeMar DeRozan, who is in the same position as him. In addition to these 4 teams, the second best Eagles in the East will face the 7th best Bucks in the East. The Bucks have improved significantly under Jason Kidd this season. They have grown from the last season to a playoff-level ball. The team, but overall, the young players of the Bucks have not fully grown up. Facing the veteran Hawks, the Bucks lack a real strength point. In this group of confrontations, most people are still more optimistic about the Hawks. The 3rd Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference will face the 6th Wizards in the Eastern Conference. The strength of this matchup is not that big. The Cavaliers have the big 3, but the Wizards also have John Wall, Bradley Beal, and Mossing Gotart. It's just that none of these 3 can compare with LeBron James. The Cavaliers gradually entered the state after a few trades in the middle of the season. Except for still unable to beat the 76ers, the other teams are really not the Cavaliers' opponents. So this group of duels, more people are still optimistic about the Cavaliers to advance to the next round. In the West, the 65-win Warriors ranked 1st in the West. Their opponent is the New Orleans Pelicans, the 8th in the West. The Houston Rockets, 2nd in the Western Conference, face the Dallas Mavericks in 7th. The Clippers, 3rd in the West, face the Spurs, 6th in the West. The Trail Blazers, number 4 in the West, are facing the Memphis Grizzlies, number 5. After the regular season officially ended, the playoffs opened his curtain. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 682. Defense. Defense. Wachovia Center, the first game of the playoffs has reached the third quarter, the Celtics 67-82, 15 points behind the 76ers. In the first half, Anzi only used the two ends at the beginning of the first quarter and the end of the second quarter, making 10 shots, easily hitting 8 goals and scoring 18 points, helping the 76ers get a 12-point lead at halftime. As soon as the third quarter came up, Anzi started a new wave of force. The ultimate goal of this wave of power is to expand the points difference to more than 20 points before the end of the three quarters, and completely end the suspense of the game. The 76ers played very smoothly. Amidst the cheering of the fans on the sidelines, the 76ers only used a few waves of offense and defense to expand the points difference to more than 20 points in one fell swoop. The Celtics are not the opponents of the 76ers. An 11 has almost no opponents in the second position. In order to defend Anzi, the young coach Brad Stevens even had to put up a combination of 2-point guards to make the height higher. Marcus Smart appeared in the starting lineup, and the Celtics' original starting second position Avery Bradley is also very defensive, but facing the 2-meter Anzi, his height is really tough. Injury: it is easy to be exploded by Anzi's shots. However, changing to Marcus Smart, the Celtics failed to defend Anzi. Anzi played very smartly. Against Marcus Smart, Anzi's physical strength at least occupies an absolute advantage. Only relying on his physical advantage and constantly playing strong at high positions, an 11 directly blew up Marcus Smart's defense. In the second quarter, the Celtics used Avery Bradley to defend Anzi, and Anzi's rhythm changed very quickly. He directly turned on the shooting mode, took advantage of his height, and continued to play some easy ball, just like that. In the halftime, Anzi made 8 of 10 shots, which was extremely efficient. As soon as the second half started, facing Marcus Smart's defense, Anzi continued to remain efficient. At the beginning, the Celtics attacked, and then Anzi broke through the penalty area and assisted Pau Gasol to hit a mid-range shot, which expanded the lead to 14 points. Then, the Celtics made a three-pointer from Jeff Green, but soon, Anzi made a mid-range shot, and the point difference came to 15 points. The game played another 2 or 3 rounds, the points difference widened to 20 points, the Celtics also gave up the victory of the game. The 76ers played too easily. An 11 is simply incomprehensible on the outside. Neither Marcus Smart nor Avery Bradley can solve Anzi's point one-on-one. Once they double team, the 76ers people's other positions will play their role. The insider Pau Gasol is the 76ers' second strong point. Facing the Celtics' weak inside line, Pau Gasol played more. After 3 quarters, Pau Gasol scored 27 points. Another 16 rebounds. If you compare this game to a game, then Pau Gasol is the main damage point of this game. He has the most damage in the team, but no one can deny Anzi's role. Anzi is not only the team. At the rhythm point, the harvest is always completed at the critical moment. Without Anzi, this game would not have been so easy. In the end, in the first game of the first round of the playoffs, the 76ers easily won the game 113-92. Sure enough, as many people expected, the Celtics were not the 76ers' opponent at all. Anzi paddled most of the game, and in less than 1 quarter, he led the team to win the game. In the game, Anzi made 12 of 15 shots, scored 28 points, plus 9 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals. The efficiency was so high that it exploded. In fact, for Anzi's performance, many people expressed their surprise after the game, because Anzi's performance was so efficient, it seems that the Celtics can't stop Anzi at all. But before the game, Many people thought that Celtic outsiders Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart would cause some trouble to Anglesey, but no one thought that Avery Bradley and Marcus would cause trouble to Anglesey. Smarter not only failed to cause any trouble to Anglesey, but was blown up by Anglesey instead. 12 of 15 shots, no matter how you look at it, it was Anglesey's unilateral blow to the Celtics. At the end of the first game, Anglesey played very easily. It can be said that most of the game was paddling. This situation made more people not optimistic about the future of the Celtics. In the other groups of the same day, the Cavaliers defeated the Wizards 103-91, but this victory was not easy. The Cavaliers have not been able to limit the offense led by John Wall and Bradley Beal until the end of the game. The intensity of the defense played a wave to accept the victory of the game. On the whole, the Cavaliers didn't play easy in this game, and the Wizards created some trouble for them. In subsequent games, the Cavaliers still need to be careful about the Wizards' backcourt combination. In the West, the Grizzlies and the Portland Trail Blazers also played their first game. The Portland Trail Blazers could not withstand the Grizzlies' defensive pressure. They lost the first game 86-100. On the other hand, the Rockets also lost to the Mavericks 108-118. From this, it can be seen that the Mavericks, the 7th in the Western Conference, are still not weak. The Rockets are in a dangerous situation. One mistake may be the Mavericks' Black 7. Then, on the second day of the playoffs, the other four groups also started. The second-best Eagles in the East defeated the Milwaukee Bucks 99-92 in the first game. As many people predicted, the young Bucks lost to the Hawks at a critical moment. The Bulls and Raptors duel ended with the Bulls winning 93-86 in this game. The Bulls played a high-quality defense, and the Raptors' outside double guns also turned into the playoffs. After the Trash Brothers in the backcourt, the whole game kept hitting iron, and at the end of the game, Derrick Rose also played his role, playing well at critical moments, hitting key goals in a row. Obviously, such a bull is not easy to provoke. On the one hand, the Bulls' overall defense is strong. On the other hand, the Bulls can be regarded as a multi-core lineup. Jimmy Butler is responsible for the output during the regular time. Although Derrick Rose is unstable, Derrick Rose is terribly stable at critical moments. The combination of Rose and Jimmy Butler's backcourt combination is still quite terrifying. By coincidence, if the first round of the playoffs goes well, the 76ers' opponent in the second round will be this bull that is not easy to provoke. In the West, the Warriors beat the Pelicans 106-99 at home and won their first victory, but Anglesey's old club Spurs lost to the Clippers 97-103. After the first game of the first round of the East and West Radicals, the general situation of the first round of the playoffs has gradually revealed. The 76ers are expected to sweep the Celtics and advance to the next round soon. The Cavaliers have created some difficulties in the Wizards' first game. Media experts believe that the score of this round of the series may be 4-1, and the Wizards have the ability to win some games, but they could not beat the Cavaliers to advance to the next round. The duel between the Eagles and the Bucks is also predicted to be 4-1. Experts believe that experience is more than everything, not to mention the strength of the Hawks is not weaker than the Bucks. In the first match between the Bulls and the Raptors, the Garbage Brothers played garbage, but there are still many experts who have confidence in them. In this round of the series, experts believe that the Bulls will defeat the Raptors 4-2 to advance to the next round. And if the Garbage Brothers play normally, the two teams can be dragged to the tiebreaker, and even the Raptors have a chance to turn defeat into victory. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 683. After winning the first game easily, the 76ers did not spend too much energy, and continued to fight at home in the second game. They maintained their strength. This game Anglesey took off. His performance in the last battle was extremely rowing. This game broke out in the first quarter and scored 20 points. Then, in the second quarter, Anzi continued to exert force, and after scoring another 18 points, the game lost suspense at halftime. In the end, Anzi scored a large triple-double with 40 points, 10 rebounds and 11 assists, helping the team easily secure a victory. The series total score came to 2-0, and after winning the first two games of the series, the 76ers have completely taken the initiative. Then, in the third game, the 76ers went to Boston. In this game, Anzi started his paddling mode again. In the last game, Paul Gasol broke out and knocked down the Celtics. In the interior group, he scored 33 points, 14 rebounds and 4 blocks in this game, and almost turned into the peak Shaquille O'Neal, unstoppable in the low and middle distance. And the paddling Anzi scored 24 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists and 2 steals on 9 of 14 shots. He was the 76ers' second output point. He assisted in this game, but there is nothing to say if he can get the final victory. Up. The victory came very easily, only one game away, the 76ers can complete the sweep of the Celtics. Behind 0-3, the Celtics also firmly established their belief in a last stand at home. In this game, the young coach Brad Stevens made a change. Jeff Green was pushed to the fourth position and the outside Celtics presented three small combinations of Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, and Isaiah Thomas. Regardless of the effect of this change, the height of this lineup alone is shocking. The backcourt trio, Isaiah Thomas is 1.75 meters, and Avery Bradley is 1.88 meters. Marcus Smart is 1.93 meters, plus Jeff Green and Jared Salinger of 2.06 meters. The Celtics starting lineup is already short and can't be shorter. However, Brad Stevens' idea is still very clear. Anyway, no matter how to strengthen the inside line, the Celtics will have a disadvantage in the inside line. They simply give up the inside line and put on a purely small lineup to force the speed up. And the 76ers. It can be said that Brad Stevens' ideas are very novel and bold. This kind of desperate style of play is also worthy of encouragement. At the beginning of the game, such a strange formation also achieved certain results. The Celtics caught the 76ers by surprise with a quick attack and defense at the opening. The first quarter opened an 18-10 offensive climax, leading the 76ers by 8 points. The situation is a bit surprising, but the 8-point lag is not a difficult situation for the 76ers to face. Just a little effort from Anzi, the 8-point lag can be recovered in an instant. Brett Brown also knew this very well. He did not rush to make adjustments. He observed for 2 or 3 minutes, then called a timeout and directly replaced Pau Gasol. It has to be said that the Celtics' transformation effect is still there. At least, Brett Brown believes that in this ultra-fast-paced offense and defense, Pau Gasol is not very useful on the field, or the 76ers can use forced control. The rhythm method to solve the Celtics' fast-paced offense and defense, but that is too troublesome. It is better to replace Pau Gasol directly, let Anzi bring a group of shooters on the court to speed up at the same time, use spears to spears, directly defeat the Celtics' offense and defense. As for the question of which of the two teams has the sharper spear, there is obviously no doubt that the 76ers with Anzi must have the sharper spear. After the substitution, Anzi started to work hard. In fact, Anzi was paddling in the last game, and it should be his turn for this game. After the game restarted, Anzi played 4 consecutive singles, whether it was Avery Bradley or Marcus Smart, they could not stop Anzi's singles. Faced with Avery Bradley, Anzi's style of play is high-posted singles and turned around for a jumper. In the face of Marcus Smart's play is a direct head-to-head attack. After 4 consecutive singles, the Celtics' defense was completely destroyed. They had to allocate more troops to defend Anzi, but 3 shooters on the field plus an inside jumper, Anzi's pass several times gave the 76ers easy scoring opportunities. On the other hand, the Celtics' offense, when the 76ers are also speeding up, and with Angzi as the core of the defensive end, the Celtics' fast-paced offense has failed and can only be passively beaten. As a result, the Celtics, who had a lead of 8 points at the beginning of the first quarter, fell behind by 5 points after the end of the first quarter. The 76ers ended the first quarter at 35-30. Then, in the second quarter, Angzi continued to play, and the second quarter was a continuous wave of singles. After completely defeating the Celtics' defense, the two teams lost their suspense in the fourth game. At halftime, Angzi scored 28 points, 4 rebounds and 6 assists. The 76ers led the Celtics by 16 points. In the third quarter, the point difference was extended to 25 points, but the Celtics did not choose to surrender, because this game is their last chance. No matter how many points behind, they will fight to the last minute. In order to prevent accidents, Angzi played another 3 or 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. After raising his score to more than 40 points, Angzi left the field. In the end, the 76ers defeated the Celtics 111-87, swept their opponents in 4 games, and entered the Eastern Conference semifinals. Angzi scored 44 points, 10 rebounds and 11 assists, and once again won a triple-double. In this game, he used his own strength to conquer the away fans of Boston. In the final moments of the game, a large number of Celtics fans retired, and the remaining small group of Celtics fans directly cheered Angzi on the sidelines. After the game was won, the 76ers also became the first team to enter the second round of the playoffs this season. In other matches, after the Cavaliers won the first game with difficulty, they did encounter the Wizards' tenacious resistance as many people predicted. After the first 4 games, the two teams actually reached a 2-2 tie. This is a lot of people. Unexpectedly, facing LeBron James, John Wall broke out a tenacious fighting spirit. The Eagles used their experience to get the match point in the fourth game of the series, leading the Bucks 3-1, and only need another victory to advance to the next round. The 76ers' opponents in the next round, the Bulls and Raptors, are also very anxious. The first 4 games were tied 2-2, and the Garbage Brothers, who recovered their status, are still very strong. The strength of these two teams is very strong and should not be underestimated. Watch for. In the West, the Warriors also swept the Pelicans 4-0 and advanced to the next round. The Grizzlies played the Blazers 3-1 in the first 4 games, and only one victory was enough to advance. LaMarcus Aldridge has already taken care of it. Such Blazers have been tepid, obviously. Cannot satisfy the ambition of the big train. After the Rockets lost their first game unexpectedly, they averaged strong wins in the last 3 games. They also got the match point after 4 games, and only one victory was enough to enter the second round. The Clippers and Spurs are the most anxious set of matchups played in the West. The two teams drew 2-2 in the first 4 games. It can be said that there is a mutual exchange. In the end, it is really unknown who can enter the second round. And the 76ers, who finished the first round of the game, can wait for nothing, waiting for the result of the series between the Bulls and the Raptors. Yuan's new book has been released. Title: The Villain Big Star. The first Chinese website is launched, and I hope you all new and old book friends for your support.